Sean, it didn't take long for things to get political following the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, unfortunately. But we couldn't help but notice the media's coverage of RBG's death was a lot different than Justice Scalia's death. Take a look at this. On the left is the Washington Post front page following Scalia's death. The headline says, Supreme Court conservatives dismayed liberals. And if you take a look at the right, showing the coverage of RBG's death, it says, a pioneer devoted to equality. We'll discuss the media's bias. Let's bring in our company, the former special assistant to the president, Kelly Sadler, and the former campaign strategist for Tulsi Gabbard, Paul Alexander. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Kelly, let me start with you. You know, the irony of this is that Scalia and Justice Ginsburg had this great friendship that people talked about, that they were diametrically opposed politically, but really had a strong bond that was something that we probably need more of in this country. And yet I kind of was dismayed at when you saw those two headlines back to back, that one person, you know, gets the negative headline, the other person does a great job. And I think that we should all recognize, you know, what kind of justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg was. And not just a justice, she was a fighter, you know, throughout her bouts with cancer, a patriot. But why does one have to be bad and one have to be good?
Because the press chooses the sides, and the press the majority of them are Democrats. The majority of people who were writing Ruth Bader Ginsburg's obituary were huge fans of her and saw her as an icon, whereas with Justice Scalia, they saw him as a pain in the fact that he wasn't ruling the way that they wanted him to rule. And you're right, Sean. Justice Scalia and Justice Ginsburg had great respect for one another. They enjoyed the finer things in life, like wine and the opera together. They made each other laugh, and they were just intellectual behemoths, both of them. And so why they aren't both honored in the same way just shows you the media's bias.
All right, Paul, do you think that we're just whining? Or do you think that was a little bit juxtaposition there?
Well, look, I actually agree with you, but are we really going to spend time decrying the media bias of the left? We know it exists, and I think most Democrats even acknowledge that at this point. So I think rather than spending our time focusing on a very skewed national media, we should focus on celebrating the life of an incredible, incredible woman who prominent conservatives, as you said, like Antonin Scalia and even Senator Ted Cruz came out, they did not hesitate to acknowledge what a incredible, brilliant mind she was, an accomplished patriot, and her life deserves to be celebrated. So I think spending too much time on rehashing the media bias is just going to make conservatives look petty.
No, I know. You've got a good point there. I agree. I think there's sometimes it makes me feel good to at least acknowledge that it exists. But I think you're right. We should acknowledge her achievements and what a stalwart she was in the judicial field. But then you're right. But it's tough not to bring it up.
You know, one of the interesting things about all of this, while we want to focus on her life, and I think that we should, we also have to look forward. And this has kind of thrown an interesting wrench into this already crazy election cycle. And so I think, you know, one of the interesting things is we've already seen Biden kind of start changing his narrative a little bit, talking about health care, and obviously Trump making a huge push for who's going to fill this seat. And Kelly, I want to ask you, is this the right strategy by Trump to try to make this about filling the seat, or should this be just a side part of what he's doing as presidency, or should it be part of his campaign?
Oh, absolutely needs to be part of his campaign. He won 2016 in large part due to the evangelical vote and promising that he would fill the court with originalists and constitutionalists. And that's exactly what he did. In 2016, he came out with a list of his potential nominations, and Kavanaugh and Justice Gorsuch were both on them. Just a couple weeks ago, he came out with his new Supreme Court list before all of this happened, and now he's vetting through them. But this is a huge thing for conservatives. Control of the court is one of the main issues that drives them to the polls and can change the dynamics of the way this country is run. So it's a huge issue, and it should be top and forefront in mind for all of the senators as well as the president.
Paul, it seems like everyone's gone to their corners, right? The president's intent on nominating someone, McConnell says he's going to vote, and then Schumer and Pelosi are saying, if you do that, Pelosi saying, I've got arrows in my quiver, Schumer saying nothing's off the table. Do you think that this escalates things to a point of almost no return, that we will in a year from now be kind of trying to keep one-upping each other?
Yeah, I am very uncomfortable with the politicization of the judiciary. I think by turning Trump and Biden essentially into proxies for this Supreme Court battle, we as a country are acknowledging a level of comfort that activism in the courts is acceptable. And, you know, that's not a way for a free nation to survive. We have allowed such a crisis of cowardice to happen in our legislative branch, where we have afforded the representatives of us to permit these unelected judges to legislate for them, and that's not a path to maintaining a free society.
Kelly, we just have a little bit of time left, but who do you think that would be the best person to fill this position?
Well, I think that the three contenders at the top of the list, Amy Coney Barrett, Barbara Lagoa, they both have a strong.
Oh, come on, Kelly. We're not. No. Not letting you off the hook. Pick.
I like Amy. I'll say it. I think Justice Coney Barrett looks really good to fill the slot.
Paul, if you were Trump or advising him, who would you tell him to choose?
Oh, man. I would likely tell him to choose Amy Coney Barrett. I hate saying this, but just to see if Democrats take the bait. You know, they cannot turn her Catholicism into an issue like they have in the past with Senator Feinstein, Hirono, and even Kamala Harris. They've made inroads with suburban women, and if they attack her character and make her religion an issue, those suburban women are going to see themselves in the nominee, and it will backlash badly all the way to a Trump landslide on November 3rd.
All right, we'll be interested. I think you guys make a compelling case, but I got the Barbara Lagoa outside shot. I'm looking at it purely politically, but I think you're both got solid points on this one. Thank you guys very much. Hope to see you soon.
Thank
All
you.
right. We'll be right back with our thoughts. Don't go away.